In this episode, we speak with Jon Seeber, General Partner of Updata Partners, a leading technology-focused growth equity firm based in Washington, D.C. Led by an investment team averaging more than 25 years of technology experience and who began their software careers working in operating companies, Updata invests in high-growth B2B software and software-driven businesses, where the combination of capital and operating experience will help accelerate success. Updata has partnered with more than 75 entrepreneurs to date and has raised more than $1.5 billion in committed capital. Jon has been a member of Updata's investment team since 2006. He has more than 20 years of experience as an operator and investor in the software industry. I'm your host, RJ Lumba. We hope you enjoy the show. If you like the episode, click to follow.
RJ Lumba is the managing partner of Growth Cap and the executive chairman of Market Insight Media. He is the host of Growth Investor, a podcast featuring today's best investors, executives, and founders. In the minutes ahead, we'll uncover insights and strategies for accelerating growth and succeeding in business.
Jon, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us today. It's a delight to be with you.
Oh, my pleasure. I'm grateful for the chance to talk with you.
So something interesting that folks may not know, I actually got my career start in that Northern Virginia, Washington, D.C. area. And one of my first assignments, I was a business auditor to audit private equity and venture capital firms in the area. And there were several, it's not like a robust industry in that area, but Perseus was one. I'm not sure if they're still around, Blue Water Capital. I believe it was Thayer. Actually, there's a different Thayer now. But anyway, long-winded way of asking, tell us a little bit about the DC metro area in terms of growth equity and maybe what the overall ecosystem is like in that area.
I'm happy to. It's a robust area in a lot of ways, not just for private equity, but also for a lot of the industries that we serve. We'll see, based on some of the things going on in the government these days, how robust it remains. But as far as private equity goes, we've been a fixture here in the DC area for more than 25 years now. And of course, firms like Carlyle, Revolution, Arlington Capital, and many others make this their home. Private equity is, and I believe always will be, thriving here in DC. Many of us have our own focus or niche that we play in. Technology, I think years ago, was a little bit bigger than it is today, at least from a private equity standpoint. The industry itself remains very strong. Yeah, that should give you a sense of the lay of the land. It's doing well, and it's certainly got its place in Washington, D.C.
And you've invested in some great companies. You've got, a very nice portfolio. The growth equity landscape, as we know, is competitive. How do you typically differentiate your firm when you're kind of approaching, various companies?
Yeah, I think there's a few ways that Updata is different or unique or that we view as a competitive advantage. I mean, first, we target a very specific kind of company. We focused on the business-to-business software sector exclusively, and we look for growth stage businesses within that sector. And that growth stage can be defined many different ways. For us, it's in the classic sense of bootstrapped businesses that have achieved some level of scale. They have demonstrated product market fit through that scale and through a repeatable record of sales and sales repeatability. So they're closing deals on a regular basis, monthly, quarterly, weekly. Those companies are growing quickly when we get involved. So most of them are 50+% growth, and many of them 100+% growth when we get involved. And we further target our aperture at bootstrap businesses. So we want to get involved with companies that have bypassed venture capital to reach 5, 10, 15, $25 million of scale. They've grown on the shoulders of their customers and solving a need rather than the venture capital ecosystem to sort of find their way. And that's a really specific niche in which now we have decades of experience. When a founder brings you as the first capital partner into a transaction, there's a special responsibility there to be a partner as much as an investor with those companies. And then I would say our competitive advantage, in addition to our experience, is that at the senior level in the firm, from the founders to my partner Carter, with whom I manage the firm today, have all been operators at some point in our careers in various shapes and sizes: founders, CEOs, executives. In my case, an officer in the military at one point, And so I think that brings a level of empathy and understanding to people who've had to struggle with making payroll or struggle with growing a company, meeting the needs of a company that's growing very rapidly. So those are, I think, what differentiates Updata in the marketplace.
Yeah, I did notice that difference in that, your team has great operating experience, which leads me to my next question is to what degree do you opine on or get involved with operations?
Yeah, so we want to be involved in businesses that want our help in growing. Capital is obviously a commodity. There are many funds that will take a less hands-on approach. We'll do anywhere from 3 to 5 deals in a typical year, and that's because we're very intentional, not only about which companies we invest in, but in the way that we get involved. From day one of due diligence, we're working on the plan for how we will cooperate with the team, and we want to be that trusted partner that the CEO calls day to day with whatever issues are going on in the businesses or opportunities or challenges. We have a value creation team that's led by a young guy named Brian Brady that's staffed with operating partners who are, for the most part, former CEOs. They are working with us through the due diligence process to identify opportunities, things that may have gotten missed in the bootstrapping of a business that can be enhanced as we grow, and then to lay out a way that we're going to work from the board level to cooperate with the business going forward. Ultimately, the value creation in these companies, make no mistake, is driven by the management teams, right? We're investors, we're board members, and we're force multipliers in many ways for the teams. But it has to be very clear that we're backing management that is going to be able to take the company to 2 or 3 or 5 times the scale the company is today.
And you've been with Updata probably much of that time leading the firm. When you look back on your 20 years, is there a particular maybe deal or portfolio company that you think very fondly of and can point to kind of the ways in which you were able to help that company?
Yeah, that's like asking me which of my sons I like better. Look, I've had the opportunity to work with some really amazing companies made up of really amazing people, and I could pick several of them for several different reasons. I think the one that combined the most really great attributes was a company called Viewpoint Construction Software, based in Portland, Oregon, which, by the way, is another great technology ecosystem, a little bit under the radar, but phenomenal people building great companies with the help of lots of folks around the community. We were introduced into that business. My partner, John Burton, John's an operating partner, was one of the founders of the firm, was introduced into the management team there. And I worked alongside John to execute that investment, in which was a family owned business at the time. The company performed very, very well. And we were able to help it in the kind of ways that I think a firm like ours should be able to help. John had great experience when he was growing his company of building sales organizations and go-to-market motions. He was helpful to the company that way. We were able to help bring other strong operators onto the board to help Jay, the CEO, think through product strategy and broader strategy. We were able to help them vet new hires. We helped them execute M&A transactions. And again, help is a word I use a lot because that's really our job, right? We don't do any of these things. We help the companies do them well. And it was a phenomenal outcome. The company grew, I think, 10x between, the time we invested and the time it ultimately exited. It was a great outcome. And I think the best part about it for me is every day, every interaction with the team itself and the board meeting was an opportunity for me to learn as well. It was a niche industry, construction, that I didn't know much about. When we got involved there, they were smart and savvy operators and business people. And so while we brought scaling expertise and software expertise, they didn't need help on the day to day other than guidance and coaching and sometimes a little psychology. But yeah, that's one that sticks out for me. I like to think that I count the family that own the business as friends today. So lots of wins out of that one.
And typically, when you're scanning kind of the B2B software opportunities, do you look to play in certain niches? I mean, construction, as you were saying, was maybe kind of a new one, but you knew you could bring to bear some of your pattern matching expertise, et cetera. Are there certain areas you like to play in, or it's really could be anything?
I think one of the things that's enabled us to be consistently successful over the years is that we are very clear about what is an updated deal and what isn't. And for us, that's defined by a spec. It's companies that are 5 to 50 of ARR. They're growing quickly, usually greater than 50%. They are capital efficient and they're outside the Bay Area. Some of these areas that are talent or capital constrained in many ways. And they're, of course, most often bootstrapped or very lightly capitalized. And so when you narrow your focus like that and you narrow your focus to business software, I don't think you can be super picky on the sectors that you invest in. You just look for great companies and then decide to look at the market and understand the dynamics. That said, the firm has a heritage in infrastructure software, security software. That's where a lot of us came from on the operating side. We've had some success in the front office software. So whether it's marketing or sales technology, and then in vertical SaaS, those are areas where we tend to pattern match, as you'd say. But ultimately for us, it's about what we bring to the table is that we've now seen 70 or 80 plus software companies and operated in dozens more and know what it takes to grow a software company, regardless of the industry, successfully.
I was chatting with a CEO the other day, and they were talking about the different firms that they had met in the growth equity space. And he was kind of asking my advice on other ones he should talk to. And I was like, you know what? What's really interesting to me is that oftentimes if you meet someone at a firm, they're probably a pretty good indicator of how the other folks at the firm are in terms of a personality match. How would you describe the folks at Updata and maybe the culture there?
I would say first, Update is a team sport. We mean that. This is an organization where it's not about this partner led the deal or that partner led the deal. It's all hands on deck to source good opportunities, to execute them well, and make sure we're putting money behind the right businesses and the right people, and then to help drive value into the company. So I think that's the first. The second is integrity is important to us. Your reputation is really all you've got in this business, besides your track record. And I think if I had to trade one off against the other, I'd rather have integrity and reputation than a little bit better track record. So I think that those are two biggies for us, and hustle would probably be the other one. I think if you asked CEOs that have worked with us, at least I'd hope, they'd tell you that, we treat them with respect and honesty, that we work hard on their behalf. And then when you get one of us, you get all of us.
I noticed something interesting in your background, and it looks like you wrestled in college, and that's a very hard sport. What's interesting, I went to school in the ACC as well, and I live with a bunch of wrestlers, and I just saw how hard they trained, and particularly, right before a meet. How did that experience wrestling maybe influence the way you worked as a professional later on?
Oh, yeah. He just named probably the biggest influence in my life besides the group of people. And, wrestling's really been a cornerstone of everything for me. It teaches you hard work, it teaches you discipline, it teaches you the challenges are transient, right? You get through them and there are rewards at the other end. It teaches you that you face a lot of challenges and don't always have a reward at the other end, and that there are going to be failures. And so people throw around words like grit, like resilience, and those are real aspects of the sport. It's one where you get out of it what you put into it. And a lot of people view it as a very individual sport, but what they don't see is that it is a team effort, and a group of people goes into a room every day, trains their brains out, and you can't succeed unless you have a partner or a group of people that you're training with that are cheering you on and picking you up, and helping you with things that you're not great at day in and day out, even though you have to go out there and succeed on your own in the actual meets. So it's something that means a lot to me. It remains a big part of my life. I actually, am a volunteer coach at my kid's school, and there aren't many nights in the Seeber house when we don't have a wrestling match on TV this time of year. So,
Can you share with us a favorite moment of your wrestling career?
oh, it wouldn't be mine. It would be this year. Actually, I coached both of my boys on the same team, and they both won the conference championship on the same day. Almost 50 years I've been around the sport. My dad was a coach too, and that's the big one, no doubt.
That's awesome. Maybe like switching into our last couple questions here. Can you tell us about a person who has had a profound influence on you?
Yeah, of course. I'm going to cheat a little and name a couple. As an investor, definitely my partner, Carter Griffin. We've been working together for 20 years, and I can't think of anybody else I'd rather do this job with. We started off junior in the firm together, worked on deals together from day one. He's one of the smartest people I know. He's one of the kindest people I know. I learned how to treat entrepreneurs from Carter, and we've been a sounding board for each other. We've been a foil for each other for a long time. So it's really a great gift. And I don't think Updata would be as successful as it is today if we didn't partner up years ago under the guidance of the founders who, sort of brought us into the firm at about the same time. And then, separate from that, got to shout out my parents. They're pretty spectacular people who taught me how to work hard, taught me that being a good person matters above all else, and who gave me tons of opportunities, too many to really recount. And then my wife, who also has been my other partner for more than 25 years now, part coach, part cheerleader, part psychologist. That pretty much covers it.
Before I ask my last question, where do you see Updata in the maybe near future and longer term? What's your vision for the overall firm?
I would say my vision for the firm is to be a long-lasting institution, and honestly, to continue doing what we're doing and to get better at it every day. We play at sort of the early stage of growth equity when these companies have just started to climb the S curve. I think it's a great opportunity there. You're getting into a business where there's still plenty of growth and opportunity for outsized returns, but risk is measured because they've proven themselves in the market. They're B2B software companies, and so they're retaining well. And so there's a great balance. But I don't know that I would say that we're going to expand into different strategies or anything like that. I think we want to continue to do what we do as a successful and focused specialist and experts on B2B software growth for a long time.
Excellent. Last question. Can you tell us about a charity, cause, or other endeavor that you're passionate about?
Yeah, sports, funny enough, is a recurring theme in a lot of this stuff, but I've had the great gift of being involved with Washington Nationals Youth Baseball Academy here in DC. I'm on the board and a supporter of the organization in Ward 7 and 8 in DC. A lot of challenges, crime, poverty, food desert, a bunch of other issues. And when the Nationals came to town, the learners built a facility in that part of town that has some baseball fields and softball fields and a school-like building. And children are able to leave school at the end of the day and go there every day, have help with their homework, receive healthy snacks, and they train in baseball and softball as a way to expose themselves to areas outside that part of DC via travel sports, and really get an opportunity to work with mentors there at the academy. The staff are incredible, selfless people. And from time to time, the ball players from the Nationals, come by and are part of their lives. So it's a cause that means a lot to my family and me. And, hopefully we'll continue to be involved there for a long time.
That's excellent. Well, Jon, want to thank you again for taking the time to chat with us today. It's been a wonderful conversation.
Oh, thank you. It's been a pleasure, and I appreciate it.